Hi, Dr. Tim.
Hello.
Thank you for starting that recording for us yesterday at such short notice. It just kind of snuck up on us what was going on around here, so thank you.
Well, I'm glad it all worked out. Have a great show.
It did. Thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome, everybody, to the second hour of MindShifters Radio. Today is Thursday, April the 1st, 2021, and that's no April Fool's joke. We are here to support you. If you dial 563-999-3581 and press 1, that will put you into queue to talk to us, and we would love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. And we already have a hand up. We'll give Michael just a few moments to get dialed in, and I'll direct you to our website, which is whyagain.org, whyagain.org. Click on the bullseye or the start here, and both of those will take you to the same page, and that is where you'll find all of the tools, the worksheets, audios, videos, just lots and lots of information. We had our Codependence Intensive group last night, and it was awesome. As always, we're going over a new Power Person worksheet that has expanded from 4 pages to 9 pages. And I know Sunday is Easter, and so some people may not be able to attend, but we are throwing in an extra class at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, just for about an hour and a half to complete this worksheet so that we stay on track with the rest of the intensive. We do already have a hand up. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, even though Michael's not with us yet, and I'm sure he'll be dialed in here in just a moment. That's 651. You are on the air. Who do I have?
Hi, Jeannie. It's Diane in Minnesota.
Hey, Diane. Good to hear your voice. Haven't heard you in a while. How's it going up there?
I know. Well, we're very slowly inching into spring. The ice is off the pond, and
oh, good.
Yeah. It's going to be. I don't know. I think it's going to be about 70 degrees on the weekend, maybe. But yeah, we got a little ways to go. And I want to say, I listened to the show. You're part of the show on Monday and Tuesday, and it was cool to hear you speaking about Call the Midwife show, because with my background in labor and delivery and my own personal things around babies, I oftentimes that show I've had lots of breathing to do because of what it brings up. It's just so good for that.
It is a fabulous show, and they have done it so well and so, I think, consciously, because every show has a part in it where the midwives are there to deliver the babies, but more than that, they are the space of love when these mothers are going through their deliveries and their dramas and traumas, and even, the other night we watched one where a woman was in her 3rd pregnancy and didn't want it. And so she went to a person, in the back alley or whatever and got an abortion. She ended up dying. But the love and support that the nurses, there's like no judgment of the patients, whatever they've, done or wherever they've been, or, the unmarried mothers or whatever. There's just such love from those nurses to their patients. And I think holding the space of love is the healing in their lives, but then as we watch it, it's healing in our lives, because it was the moment when that nurse hugged, the mother that had lost the child, that she was able to move forward from that situation. And it's an awesome show. I suggest anybody watch it. Michael's with us now. Michael, I'm talking to Diane Fount, and we were talking about the midwife show.
Right. Yeah, it allowed the woman in the show to move forward and gave you that boost of energy that moved your whole process forward.
Yes, it did.
So we can get vicarious atonement. Just pretty profound. Pretty profound. Hey there, young lady. How are you?
Hi. Oh, I'm well, busy. Yeah, busy as ever. And I haven't done a worksheet in a while, and boy, something big came up today, so I started a worksheet, and I got completely stuck when I was trying to cancel the goal. So I decided, well, okay, I'll call in and see what we can do with this.
Well, glad you're here. How can we help?
Thank you. Well, shall I just tell you what's in my worksheet and where I'm at?
Go for it. Whatever's going on, let's go for it.
Okay. Well, I live in an area that's, on the edge of a metro area, so it's a mixture of rural areas and some farms, and then, housing that's developing all around. So, it's in transition. What they call a town, which is kind of now more like a suburb, but where I live, and then this adjacent town called Lake Elmo. There's a beautiful farm there on one of the main roads through the old town, little old town where you have, like a gas station, a couple churches, and this beautiful farm with a couple of big white barns and the family name painted on the barn. And the family's owned this horse farm since 1914. And I just read in the next door posting this morning, it sounds like the city council, based on things that the Metropolitan Area Council is dictating, denied the family the ability to do some horse training there. Changing. I guess they've had horses there for a long time, but it's the way it's zoned right now is such that I think it's in transition. They call it rural transition or something like that. And anyway, they were asking for some changes to be made so that they could go forward with horse training as a way of preserving the farm and continuing to be able to afford, to keep it running. And the council turned that down, based on a 3-2 vote. And so it's going to be developed. And I started crying, and just immediately huge sadness was coming up about this, which is no big surprise to me, in that, I got to experience going on a sleigh ride at that farm when I was a kid in Bluebirds. I have pictures of me and one of the horses, but more than that, the strong feelings that I have about family farms and our heritage and preserving those things. I'm thinking, well, all the houses that are already there, those kids that live there could really benefit from having that connection with our heritage and the animals and this family way of life and all of that. So I wrote on the back of my worksheet, many things about that, that, I think they're being really blind in letting go of this treasure, and developing houses there instead, and, basically crowding out things. And some of what I said on the back of the worksheet too is, people not recognizing that we're part of a whole of creation, that, it's not for us to crowd out all the other parts of creation, that we need all of it in order to really survive. And so my thoughts are, the city council is ruining an important heritage. They have no respect. They're short-sighted. I'd like to storm in and strike them down, that's unusual for me to feel, sadness and then that much anger, that I can really feel that real strongly. My goal is that the farm be preserved for families and kids and horses. So when I got to trying to cancel the goal, it's like in my head I can do that, but often I cancel a goal and it's like I don't tap into, well, what's underneath this. Certainly feelings about my own family farm could be underneath it, but it feels like something that goes back way farther than that, like perhaps to my childhood or even generations past. So I just feel, I'm not so much in the emotion of it now that I'm talking a lot about it, but I feel pretty stuck. Like, how can I get this to move a little bit more? And I did chat. Doug wasn't available immediately, so when I texted him, so I thought he's in Missouri right now. So I thought, well, I'll call into the show. And then meanwhile, he called, and I was explaining to him a little bit. I explained to him a little bit about when I drive by, and I frequently do drive by that farm, part of what's important to me is just the beauty that it is, the open spaciousness and the barns themselves, and there's a lot of that out here, a lot of beautiful open space and trees and little rolling hills and fields. And I can identify that that's important. And he said, it's something that, that's part of it. He said, well, this feels like, your need for beauty and open space, that's like part of something you need for your own survival. And that feels pretty big. And anyway, I said I want to call into the show, so that's where I'm at.
Got it. Well, my thought is the reason maybe that you're stuck is because this is one of your 77 times 70 issues, and it's much bigger than what your mind is presenting to you at this point. And you did mention it very briefly, but it was just kind of like you kind of just sort of, like you were stepping stones through the pond and you touched that stone, but then just kept going like it was irrelevant. And I suspect that part of the big emotional charge, and I may be totally off on this, and just kind of check it out for yourself, but the thought that comes to me intuitively is that this has got more to do with your brother and your father and mother's farm than the farm down the road. I hear that other component, but I suspect that the emotional turmoil is really in that other circumstance.
And I believe you're right about that. That's a huge issue right now, because I think my brother has made some very poor decisions about the farm, and my dad sort of lost his ability in the last years to say no.
There's your key word. Yeah, I think that's your core there. Those words, poor decisions. There's a link to this. The council members are making poor decisions. I think that might be your bridge. That might be your link. Is wanting people to make better decisions and or choices, and then start looking around in your life and see how many arenas, if you could just control those other people and get them to make better choices, then your life might be better.
Oh, that's a good one, Michael.
Has that got you breathing?
Not yet, but because I'm caught up on
because it stopped. Because it stopped.
I'm not sure. It's hard to tell when you're talking. Am I breathing and talking, or am I just talking? But yeah, what caught me up right away was I tend to blame myself for my own decisions, thinking, I made a poor decision in my choice of husband, or I do that a lot. Like I blame myself. And in this situation,
so this is your 77 times. Who'd think a horse farm could take you into self-blame and decisions about mates, and this is like your big can of worms is going to just open in so many directions. It's your hydra.
Yeah.
So now you've got open spaces, you've got land, you've got poor decisions, you've got relationships. It's like you've opened a can of worms here. This is going to be your hydra.
Okay, yeah.
So I'd be just stopping. Yeah, go ahead and breathe into the feelings that are moving, and just let yourself breathe into the thought that's underneath those feelings. And it seems like a key word that keeps coming to me. See what this resonates is loss.
Mm-hmm.
Loss over poor decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead into that feeling. What does that sound? What does that sound mean? Just twice made a pretty distinctive sound.
Like breathing sound?
No, it was a verbal. It was an audible. It wasn't a word, but there was an audible sound that you made twice in a row there.
It's almost like a hum.
I don't remember it at all.
Okay.
Like what might have made.
Okay.
breathing.
For me, it sounded like maybe there was some very primal energy moving, and almost like what it resonates for me is I remember a woman who had a really horrendous loss, and it was very immediate. And when she tried to speak, she couldn't speak. What she could do was just, there it is, that's it, could just make sounds that are reflective of, for me, what I would interpret as would be reflective of just deep, deep grief, like unspeakable loss.
Yep.
So I breathe with you, because as I tap into it, it brings up some of that same for me.
Yeah, when you said what's the thought under the feelings, I was thinking I need space, and I don't know how in the world that relates, but the loss certainly feels like in my choice of staying with my husband for as long as I did, during his many years of drinking and not giving up on that relationship, I gave up any chance of having children, which is something that I wanted, and that has been what feels like the biggest loss in my life, definitely. As repercussions now, I don't get to have any grandchildren either.
Yeah.
So it's loss of family. Yeah. Yeah, and interesting, when I say loss of family, that brings me to, all of my relatives live in Indiana. So we were in California, then we lived in Minnesota. We did not have any family nearby. And Minnesota's a place where most people have their families around. It's not a very transient area like California was.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and family's always been very important to me. My grandparents particularly, I was very lucky to know all of them and two of my great-grandparents. Yeah.
And it sounds like the thought of losing that farm just opens that whole deep, deep well that needs to be opened and healed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so breathing into it with you.
Yeah, that farm has been in the family since 1831 when Andrew Jackson signed the deed for it. And it's like, I'm not a farmer myself. What would I do with it? But I've always had a strong desire to preserve it and to carry it forward. Yeah.
Well, maybe this is the gift that gives you the opportunity to clean out some very deep losses in your life and bring into those spaces that have locked down in you on that pain, bring love into those spaces. And who knows, maybe you're the one who's going to be led to open up the conversation that preserves that farm. Who knows?
Yeah, I hope so.
Maybe you'll become the activist that does something about it that's meaningful. It sounds like these town councils step in and it becomes about how can we increase our budget? And then I've got more money to spend or play with or waste or pass on to, relatives and friends and power and all those dynamics. So.
Yeah, and the farm is
welcome to the world of 77 times 70 worksheets.
No kidding. Yeah. Yeah. The family, there's enough there to really do a lot for our entire family. But yeah, I found that my brother is he seems to want to have total control and seems to be very fearful of anybody trying to take anything from him, that you can't even have a conversation with him. He gets triggered about money and keeps bothering my mother about money, and yet not taking responsibility for using the farm to earn money. And yeah, I've tried to figure out how can I bring him into things so that he feels like he's got some control, and maybe I'll be able to do that. Yeah, he's just very hard to work with.
Yeah. So my first order, or how can I say this? The first thing I would offer you is that you are never going to figure out how to do that. Remember, the number one pseudo solution of the non-being mind is if I could just figure this out. But you can forgive as to that.
Uh-huh.
And as you do, you'll have clarity and guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the article that you might write that goes in the local paper about this farm might impact your brother's thinking about farms too, and family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've thought of trying to write to him to help him see some things about why it's worth preserving. Yeah. Mm. Mm-hmm.
So it feels like something's moved for you.
Yeah, I feel a little more calm. Yeah. And it's interesting what came up too is some recognition. It's like, now here's something else to work on. I have a tendency, it's like I believe that I can get guidance about things, and yet as you were speaking of that, I could also feel in me like this, like a resistance or a block, or like, well, I don't ever get guidance because somehow I don't really deserve that. Or I asked for help for years when I was in my marriage and really struggling and very sad about the state of, my marriage and my childlessness and all of that. And I felt that I got no answers, and felt very much abandoned. So, and, I've recognized that, but I don't believe that anymore, but I recognized, as you said, that like a little piece that was like, well, little old me, I don't really get to have any guidance. That's for people that are really tuned in and kind of special. Yeah. So clearly that's
so my offering in that arena would be that everybody has full guidance available 24/7, 365 for their eternal lives, everybody. Mm-hmm. And where we hold thought disorders and issues unresolved, we block that guidance. So that might be a place where you might want to look at thought disorders about the self as deserving, and perhaps helplessness. Hopelessness. And there's that sound again. There it is. Just tap into what's going on inside of you when that sound just issues forth spontaneously.
Just deep sadness.
Yeah. Go for it. Go on into it.
Yeah, it's like, it feels really old, like I'm too small. I'm too small for anybody to understand what I need.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like it ties in with your brother, that it's difficult for you to get him to understand your perspective.
Oh, yeah.
So if if you can recognize that thought that blocks the intuition that will tell you exactly how to communicate to open that space up. While you can't figure it out, you can forgive that, and as you forgive that, you'll open the passageway for guidance to come through.
Mm-hmm. And would I do a worksheet with I'm too small? I'm not sure where to start with that.
Well, my thought would be that, we've just opened such a huge bag of issues for you that you take the radio show when it's complete and sit down with it, pen and paper, and just make note of every direction, because it's just, there's so many directions tied in with this. This is the ultimate Hydra.
Uh-huh.
And if you remember, the Hydra is the creature in Greek mythology that when you cut her head off, a dozen other heads appear. And each of these aspects is a Hydra. And so, you start dissolving those one at a time, and I go back and re-listen and just make notes on every direction this goes, and then select what's the first direction to go in, and I suspect the first direction to go in to do your work around it will not be the immediate presenting problem of the farm, but it'll be more going back to the powerless feelings, the thoughts of I'm powerless, I can't make them understand, and whatever all that means, and starting to work through those. They're kind of like the underlying root issues, where Yeshua says, take care of the heart or the unconscious, for out of it are the issues in life. There's where you want to start. And then I suspect what will happen is your power will just naturally start to flow into these areas where you need to find your voice and express, i.e. with your brother, with farm, with money, with your mother and your brother, all of those things. That your power will just naturally start to flow into your voice rather than being restricted to that. When you start touching into that level of awareness, this unresolved, whatever it is that spontaneously comes out that you have no control over. When that energy, when your voice issues that spontaneous sound. Maybe as you listen, just tap into just be with that and breathe through it. You might listen to it 3 or 4 or 5 times and just ask where does this come from? What does this mean?
Yeah. That's all very helpful. I can feel the possibilities in that. Yeah, because it is when it's like I can visually see the Hydra, and it feels overwhelming. Like, where do I even start?
Yeah.
So, the way to manage that.
Same way as you need an elephant, one bite at a time.
Right.
One worksheet, one piece of it at a time, and you may review, that part of the show several times, and maybe over an extended period of time, because there's so many tentacles to it.
Yeah. It seems it's what's coming to mind too is, I think that on the show we've talked in the past about overwhelm, and I'm not accessing now you've said some really good things about when we feel in overwhelm, what that's about or how to get through it. And I've certainly felt that way lately. There's just too many issues to even know where to start some days. And not even on my own personal issues, but just all, the things that I need to manage in my life with taking care of my mom.
Right. Good breath.
Yeah.
That's the kind of breath you need.
Yeah. very helpful, Michael. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for what you brought up for me, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was telling
that's
Jeannie.
Something that I need to work on.
Oh, that's cool. I was telling Jeannie I really enjoyed listening to Monday and Tuesday's show and hearing about your sabbatical, and that sounded just really, really good. Yeah. I haven't been able to be part of the intensive because I've been working a lot on Wednesday evenings and just, having a bit too many things going on. But I've missed the work. So it was good to just hear about that and the work that you all are doing and the depths to which you're going with all of that. Yeah.
And you might want to recognize and remember that busyness is the most common drug on the planet, and that it's easy to fall into using that drug when something this big is getting ready to move. It's like, and that's the place to reaffirm your commitment to do a daily piece of your work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you say daily, it sounds so manageable. It's amazing that it does.
Yeah, it's kind of manageable.
It is. I know because I've done it. I've done 5 worksheets a day for many days in a row. It's been a while, but it's like, wow, I really did that. And it's good. Yeah.
Sounds like time really to return. Remember the old idea of tithing, and the first, churches tend to focus on tithing being about what you do with your money, but the primary one is tithing. The first initial in the word time, T-I-M-E, is time. Time, intelligence, money, and energy, that you really do dedicate 10% of your time to doing your inner work.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take the time to open that space, in the ancient teachings that was called seek first the kingdom, seek first that place of love in you, then everything else gets handled. But if you don't ever handle that, the rest of it never gets handled. It just keeps piling up to the point where that's where overwhelm occurs.
Yeah, seek first the kingdom. That made me take a big breath. So I know that's good. Well, thank you both for your work and your wisdom. I think I'll go move on so somebody else can call in as needed. And I've got plenty to keep busy with fortunately I've got a few days off here, so timing is good. Yeah, I appreciate
Sweet.
it. Yeah. I hope
well, you
both
got
have
it.
Good... Thank you. Yeah, thank you much. All right.
Nice work, young lady.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, blessings.
Mm-hmm. You too.
And we have another hand up.
Oh, let's go for it.
It's 6:02. I believe this is Cecilia. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hey, you're loud and clear, young lady. How are you? Good to hear your voice.
Good to hear you guys. So I'm having so many breakthroughs. I'm never ever been this broke through in my entire life. And I have to attribute it to all of your work. I have to attribute it to also that I started studying the Essene Bible back about a year ago, and I meet with this group once a month on Zoom, and it all ties together. And so I just had something I was stuck with yesterday. Well, for a while now, it's a neighbor that moved in.
Tell you what. Before you go on to a separate topic, I'd like to offer just one piece of feedback. Okay. We met back 30-some years ago, something like that, close to that. And, Jeannie and I have been doing our work all that time, and it didn't change your life. So I don't think it's our work that changed your life.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's your work that changed your life. And I support you acknowledging that, I'm stepping up to the plate and I'm doing my work. And there's where the acknowledgement needs to be.
I'm just so ready for it.
Yeah.
I'm so ready for living the life that Hashem, Yahweh. Yeah. So
notice that you've been following the power person dynamic.
What do you
now,
mean
this
now?
comes out of our codependence work, that you've been following the power person dynamic of not acknowledging yourself.
Hey, thank you.
And it's time for you to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I was determined to do the work. I have to call in, but I did the work. But I'm just telling you about alts. That, and I can tell you that the caller before and the caller on March 3rd about her child graduating and didn't get invited, all of this I just totally relate to, and it helps me to hear them go through it. But anyway, so singing is absolutely beautiful. My teacher said, wow, this is the tone, the everything. And that's because I'm doing this work, and I'm so determined. That is my purpose in life, is to sing and dance. Just to sing and dance for Yeshua. So that's my purpose. I offer it now, not to people, but to Yeshua. So every time I sit at the piano, I offer this, and I'll play it as lovingly as I can possibly play it, and offer it to you as a gift for the gift you've given me. And I say that about my voice, and because of that, my voice is coming out. It's blowing me away that I have this beauty inside of me that comes out, because normally my voice is very, very like dressed and everything, and so it's happening. It's before my eyes, and that's all great. That's amazing. And then I also have another amazing thing that happened is I have neighbors. I'm very hello, hi, my name is, I goes by Cece in the neighborhood. And I said, what's your name? And I'm always walking my 7 dogs, so I always stop and talk to a lot of people. And they say it, and I'll always remember it. So every time I see them, I say, hey, hi, Tim, hi, Nancy. And it's just something that I felt like I was friendly. But what's happened is my neighbors who moved in last August, beautiful kids, amazing children, and they were putting fires in their backyard. Just people like to sit around a fire, and I'm in Phoenix, so it's like house to house, wall to wall, and so the wind took it over my wall and put it down under. I mean, it's like I even Googled something, and I found out that really happens. It wasn't going up in the air. It was coming over the wall, which was where their fire was in their yard. It came back into my yard, but it didn't just go up and out. All the soot and everything in the air, and plus particles that, I'm always in my backyard with my dogs. And it came down the wall and down into as if it's a valley and it's smog. And I was afraid to say anything. And finally I went over, I knocked on their door, they didn't answer, and I stood by my wall one time. I knew they were out with their fire, and I said, hey, neighbors, this is your neighbor. Can you hear me? And they didn't answer me, and I knew they were there because I could hear them and their kids. And they're right like 3 feet away from me. That's how close we are, okay, divided by my wall. So I said, hey, you guys, I wanted to let you know that the smoke's coming in my yard and it's making it really hard to breathe. So can we work on finding a solution? No answer. So I was like, I had sleepless nights about this, but this is months ago. And I finally decided I'm going to take a ladder, look over the wall, and I knew he was out there with his fire. And I said, hey, Armando, hey, hi, how are you? And he doesn't say anything again. And he just looks at me like, that look you talk about. And so I'm like, okay, I know who we are. I know I am love. I know he is love. Okay, so whatever happens, I'm going to keep that in my filter of my mind. So he said, I said, hey, is there any way there's a lid to that? Because I don't know anything about fires. I just thought you could maybe put a lid on it or something, and it comes out like in another direction or something. And he just looked at me and he said, I'm not doing anything wrong. I said, it's not about that. He said, it's about, he said, and the other thing is, I don't like you looking over into my yard. And I thought, okay, breathe. And what came out of me was, I get that. And I said, I don't like your smoke going into my yard, so I can't breathe. So what can we do? And he said, and he didn't say anything. And I said, it's just about being courteous. It's just about being courteous, good neighbors. And he shook his head no, like with that look that you get from people. And I just thought, okay, he doesn't know he's loved, but I know he's loved. But anyway, after that, it took a while, and the fire issue's gone. So there's always some issue though that comes up, and so I looked over the wall yesterday. I have a 6-foot wall. Then as it gets to the front, it goes down to a wall. And I looked over, and they were sandblasting some concrete or something right by my wall that cost me a pretty penny. It's a slump block wall with mortar in it, okay? And it's on my property, and my dogs were barking, so I let them know I had 7 dogs before they moved in. I asked the realtor to tell them, because I said I want somebody to live here that's okay and loves animals unbelievably. And so I'm not finding an issue with them with the animals.
What are you feeling right now? What's going on for you right now? I mean, this is all your story, but what's going on inside?
I mean,
right now?
what I'm feeling is it's not okay for me to speak up for myself, okay, and say things like the fire. I mean, literally, I was like, I don't want to do this. I'd rather die than confront it. I mean, than to receive
Notice this ties. This is so. Notice that this is the logical extension of the issue that you dealt with recently as a child. Well, as a child,
oh yes, with Ron,
there was abuse that happened that you weren't able to press.
Well, where it came to was what it came to when I said hi to them yesterday. I'm trying to be nice and everything, and then when they look at me with that cold stare, I'm just like, what is this that takes me into like this horrible feeling? And so as I was walking, I was doing that 3, 2, 1 thing with the finger.
Hold. Slow down a bit.
I came to it. My family was that way with me. So I realized that I canceled that goal for them to be that way for me.
Well, let's back up just a couple of steps, and remember our definition of denial. When I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of what's moving inside of me, I dissociate from what's moving inside of me.
Right.
And what I dissociate from is what I most need to heal.
Yes.
So notice that when you say, and that makes these, I believe the word used was horrible feelings, that horrible feeling that you're dissociating from by thinking they're the cause of it is the piece of work that you need to do next.
Yes.
And that piece of work is going to be done as you look at what your goal is, and I suspect that there are a couple of directions you can go with worksheets in that. One would be the goal you hold for Cecilia, for Cece to be able to speak up and to be heard and to be empowered. There's several facets of that you might. And then your goal, and there are a wide variety of goals that may involve this circumstance that will again be reflections of that early power person dynamic. And that would be the goal for them to respect you, to hear you, to receive your communication, to be cooperative, to honor you. There's a whole, range of things that would probably be productive to work on from both of those perspectives. Does that make sense?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I did a whole worksheet on the second part that you said, or both of them actually. They kind of combine together. I guess I have layers of that I need to let go of.
This is, again, as with our call earlier with Diane, this is into one of your 77 times 70 worksheet issues. This is one of the core issues of your life.
Yes.
Is being honored, respected, and being able to speak up and be heard, to have some power.
Yes.
So as you recognize that, and again, I'm going to give you the same suggestion I gave to Diane, go back and listen and make notes on every, like there are several twists and turns in both directions for the worksheets you'll do on yourself and the worksheets that you'll do on these neighbors. And they're going to be reflections. They're going to be the same worksheets if you'd have been aware of worksheets when you were, whatever the age was where that sexual abuse occurred, it'd be the same worksheets that you'd have been doing then that you're going to do now, that are going to, go give you access to that part of your unconscious or heart that needs to be cleaned out of those issues.
Okay.
So you're right on track, and I applaud you for your willingness.
Thank you.
And an important component, I think, is going to be to, while you're wanting someone else to acknowledge you.
Oh, no, I gave that up. I gave that up in my worksheet last night.
Okay, that's good. But notice that they're a reflection of the part of you that doesn't acknowledge you.
Oh, okay, thank you. That's what my voice coach said. No, my voice coach said.
Yeah. So notice that you were only too willing to acknowledge Jeannie and I, and that's what changed your life. No, Jeannie and I doing our work didn't change your life. You picking up the tools and doing your work changed your life.
Yes.
And so in order to radiate the energy to people that it's safe to acknowledge me, you're going to have to feel safe acknowledging yourself.
My God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Heavens, the gates opened up here inside of me, right here, right now.
There it is. That's it. You got it.
Thank you, and thank you. And I'm going to be donating. This is the hugest gift. I can't even tell you that. If I were Howard Hughes, I'd give you it all.
Well, thank you for your support. And the big thing is, one of the biggest things you can give to this work is for you to do your work, to continue to process through those things, because, there's a great line in the Course in Miracles that says, millions yet unborn will benefit from the work you do. Your work is going to impact millions. And when you can acknowledge that in yourself, for yourself, you'll reach a whole new level of your own power.
And I am. Acknowledge it from this moment on.
All right.
Thanks.
Sweet. Nice piece of work.
Thank you.
So I come back to the show when it's over with a pen and paper and get every little nuance, and that'll be, again, it'll be like that Hydra, all those corners that you're going to go into, and then don't be surprised if your neighbor comes over and says, hey, I want to check out and see how things are going with. Don't be surprised, because when you send out a different message, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes there's just a different response.
I wanted to tell you a little cute story about the Hydra. So when I did worksheets, I saw you again in Phoenix when I was married to Ted, and there was a dog. You were talking about Hydras maybe at that creative living. And so I thought, what is a Hydra? I came home, I Googled it. Okay, that's what a Hydra is. That's interesting. I went to this dog place to get my dog's food or whatever it is I go to get. and they had all these stuffed animals hanging from the ceiling. And I said to the guy that worked there, "What is this?" And he said, "It's a hydra. It's for dogs that cannot." It's a stuffed animal or a stuffed hydra. It's huge and humongous. It's you could have the biggest chewer that'll destroy a stuffed toy in a minute, and this will last forever. And so I said, well, first of all, I want to buy it for me.
Oh, that's interesting.
I bought it for me, and then I decided, my dogs looked at it a million times, and I said, okay, you guys, you can have it. So I put it down for them, and they tore every head off in 3 minutes. And so I thought, well, thanks for doing the work for me.
Oh, dear.
So anyway, I am learning from Yeshua's teachings in the Essene Bible that not to do this work unless you have a sense of humor. Okay, so
we'll join you in that.
Huh?
We will join you in that.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Glad to be on the team, young lady.
Okay, bye.
All right, blessings. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, Miss Jeannie, we're down to about 10 minutes.
We actually have 7 minutes, so if you want to go ahead and read out of the book, that'll probably take us close to the end.
Well, that's what I'll do, is I'll do some reading. So we are on the chapter on blockage of truth, and we've just introduced that concept to Richard, the character in the book that I'm speaking about, and he's talking about how it's been difficult for him to receive and accept a new way of looking at his life because he's so used to externalizing everything. And so we're really digging into that blockage of truth idea, and the corollary of blockage of truth is blame, and a way. Or we've been talking here about reclaiming one's power. When one feels powerless, it isn't because they have no power. Everyone at conception is issued the same amount of power. I don't care whether you're a king or a pauper in the gutter. Everybody is issued exactly the same amount of power. But if you give your power over to an image in your mind that is your mind's representation of someone else, then what you do with your power is you hide it in your brain's image of that other person. And that's done with language and words. So if you're ever feeling powerless, start to look at where you are in blockage of truth in your life. And as you do that, you get to reclaim your power. It's kind of like that old story about playing country music backward. What happens? You get your car back, you get your dog back, you get your girl back, you get your farm back. And when we stop the blame game, which is precisely the way we give away our power, we create something, we set something up. We do it to ourselves. Someone comes along and cooperates with the invitation energetically that we sent out by doing it to ourselves and does it to us, and we blame them. We put all our power in our brain's image of them, so our power disappears, and it looks like I have no power left. Forgiveness is the way to liberate the power that you were issued from the beginning by the Creator from those unconscious constructs in your mind of others who you think have the power. So as you forgive, remember that forgiveness is about removal. as you remove the false thoughts, then you get to reclaim the power that you've tied up in your brain's image of another. So the paragraph we finished reading, it just feels appropriate to repeat. If you pretend your life is the responsibility of others and that you have nothing to do with creating the painful emotions and repetitious conflicts in your life, you tell yourself a disempowering lie, and in doing so, hide the truth from yourself. In doing so, you hide the truth from yourself. And the truth is, you have as much power as any being on earth who has ever existed, including the man named Yeshua. You'll remember he says, the things I do, you too can do, and greater. And we could put a comment in there and add, because you have the same power as I have. You were issued the same amount of power as I was issued. If we tie it up in our brain's image of others, then we'll get what we think are others. We'll get pictures of bodies generated as perceptual constructs from our minds, and those bodies will show up with all the power over us. And we'll feel cowed because we're unwilling to forgive that part of us been cowed. And to remember that breathing is an important part of the whole process. And that when you live in, and we really don't have time to go through, we've got a couple of pages of diagrams coming up in this chapter, and I don't feel like we have time to do it honor today, so we'll start out with that tomorrow. But there's an illustration in the book. If you've got a copy of it, it's on pages 50 and 51. But it illustrates how with language in relationships, people hide their power, give away their power, and create these perceptual constructs that somebody else is the cause of what I'm doing to myself. And you have to undo that lie. And to undo that lie, you have to be willing to honor truth so much that you can look at whatever it is you've done to yourself and whatever has been done to you through the lens of active present love and forgiveness. So we'll step into that tomorrow. And in the meantime, create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. And we're here to support you giving that gift.